Hello, welcome to my channel, and this is going to be the second time attempting to film this, and I hope it turns out a lot better than what it was turning out to be yesterday. We are filming my July and August wrap-up, and I have quite a few books to talk about. As mentioned previously, I am doing my wrap-ups bi-monthly as of right now. That could definitely change in the future when I get a little bit more on topic or on track with my uploads, but for right now we're just doing them bi-monthly. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it because I do have quite a bit of books to talk about. Starting off really strong with The Sisters Grimm. This is the 6th book in this one is called Tales from the Hood. This one is probably by far my favorite book of the series. And that is saying something because I know throughout most of this I was really like flip-floppy on whether or not I was like, obviously I was always going to continue on with the series, but I was always flip-floppy about whether or not I actually enjoyed the books to a certain extent because of certain characters. But this one definitely gives me high hopes for the rest of the books. I think there's 3 left after this one, and I'm just super excited about this one. This one we got to learn a little bit more about Mr. Canis, which if you don't know is their long-term family friend, a friend of their grandmother's, and he's had a mysterious past through pretty much the whole book, and we got to actually find out what happened to him in this one, and I just love this, and I knew I was gonna love it because it involves a decent amount of, or we get to see more Alice in Wonderland characters, and Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite Disney movies especially, and one of my favorite books, or one of my comfort reads I should say. But I really did enjoy this one, and the way that the twists and turns that this took, it made me really excited for the rest of the series. So I cannot wait to pick the rest up. I just have to wait until I have more room on my shelf. The next one is another series that I've talked about quite a bit on this channel because I'm making my fiance read them with me right now, and that is the Junie B. Jones series. This one is number 13. Junie B. Jones is almost a flower girl, and this one follows her as she finds out her aunt is getting married and she really wants to be the flower girl, but unfortunately that position was already filled. So we kind of get to see her in that one. I would not say this one is a favorite for me. We definitely get to see Junie B's bratty side come out quite a bit. But like I said, I am making my fiance reading them with me, so we'll hear his thoughts right here. The next one, we have quite a bit of a middle grade and children's book theme going on here, because the next one I picked up is First Class Murder. This series is, this is the 3rd in the series, but this series follows Hazel and Daisy, and they tried to uncover mysteries that go on around them. And this one takes place on a train. They are on the Orient Express. And I am liking these books more and more. And I know a lot of people have problems with the fact that there are blatant racist remarks throughout these whole books, and that's like, it's definitely a huge problem throughout this series, at least the first 3 books, but I have heard it gets better. And it definitely is getting better, at least in my opinion. This one we really see Hazel break through and shine, and I really like that, especially in just in the way that she's presenting herself, especially, and it's really great to see. There are many more books in the series, so I'm hoping that it just consistently gets better and better, and Hazel continues to outshine and prove people wrong, because she's probably one of my favorite middle grade characters that I have read from. The next few I do not have physical copies for. I either unhauled them or I had them downloaded from my library, had them borrowed from my library in one form or another. But the first one is Cam Jansen, and this was, or it was Cam Jansen, Mystery of the Stolen Diamonds. This is a book series that I read when I was young, much younger, and I just absolutely adored rereading it again. I thought it was really fun. I think I read this or picked it up for a readathon, but I'm not sure exactly which one was happening in July. All I know was I really enjoyed getting to read the story again. If you don't know what Cam Jansen is, it follows this young girl named Cam who has a photographic memory, and she uses that to help her solve crime cases. And in this one, she's following the crime of stolen jewels. And I just thought this was really great. I loved being back with these characters after so long. I barely remembered what happened in them. And I think when I was younger, I only read a few. So I'm hoping that after I finish Junie B, I can go back to this series at some point, though it is going to be a little hard to find. I did try finding them through my library, and I was only able to find them on the Libby app through my library, but I really want to find them in physical editions because I think that'd be really great to get to revisit my childhood once again past the Junie B. Jones series. I'm just so excited. I loved it. I thought it was really fun, and definitely a great book definitely a great children's chapter book. The next one I borrowed from my library, and that was A Spindle Splintered. And this is a Sleeping Beauty retelling following, don't ask me her name, I completely forget it, but she is basically all her life she has known that she would not make it past 21, and on her 21st birthday she pricks her finger on a spindle and ends up in a completely alternate dimension where she has to help another version of Sleeping Beauty escape her fate. And I usually don't like novellas. I think they're too short, that we don't get enough of the world progression in most of the short stories, at least that I have read. But I really enjoyed this one. I think I gave it a 4-star when I read it, and I definitely stick by that. It's got a lot of really good commentary on Sleeping Beauty and in the story, and how one needs to take control of your own life even if you have a destined future. It's just, I really enjoyed it. I know there is a second one that is a retelling of Snow White, I think that's also at my library. I just haven't had a chance to grab it, but I cannot wait to continue on because I also need to read more by this author in general. I've heard a lot of their books are really good, and I have quite a few of their books on my Goodreads TBR, so hopefully I'll get to read quite a few more of them very, very soon. The next couple I'm going to bunch all together because they are all part of the same series, and that is volumes 1, 2, and 3 of Space Battle Lunchtime. And these I didn't even know existed. Once again, I'm pretty sure I picked them up for a readathon, and I thought they were so fun. They follow a human who out of nowhere is basically transported into space to compete on this cooking show to prove that she is the best cook in the galaxy. And I think it's really great. We get to meet a lot of interesting characters. There's a little bit of a LGBTQ representation in there. I love the art style. It's such a fun series so far. I know there are a few other volumes that Kindle Unlimited didn't have. They only had the first 3 volumes on KU, so I want to try to find the physical editions at some point so that I can continue on with the series, because there are some unanswered questions that I would like the answers to very much, especially as far as the romance that's been developing in these volumes. And I love it. I think it's so cute, and I cannot wait. It's such a fun premise, and I cannot wait to continue on with the series. The next one I did end up unhauling, unfortunately, but that is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. This is the prequel to The Hate U Give, following Star's father and his story being a teen dad and having to raise a child. And I did really enjoy this one. However, I don't think I'm gonna reread it at all. So that's the only reason I ended up getting rid of it. When I genuinely have, when I tell you I genuinely have no more space on my bookshelves, and unfortunately no more space to add any more bookshelves, just because the space we have right now is taken up by, we just have very limited space right now, especially in the studio where Benson gets half of it and I also get half of it. There's not much space to maneuver, and even in our room we don't have very much space. Our bed is pretty big, so I just didn't feel like it was essential to have in my collection. But I did really enjoy it. I listened to it on audiobook all in one sitting actually, and it was really interesting, really intriguing to get to learn more about Star's father and his teenage years. But I really enjoyed it, and definitely, like, I love everything that Angie Thomas writes. Maybe it's just because they're YA and I'm kind of falling out of love with YA, or maybe it's just a contemporary and I'm not always in love with contemporary. I don't know what it was. It just wasn't necessary for me to keep on my shelf. This next one was the start of Summerween, so I jumped right into a Goosebumps book and started with The Haunted Car. And I swear to God I've read this one before. It was a very similar, or at least I've read another book that had a very similar plot to this one before, but I can't find anything on my Goodreads about it, which is really weird to me because I swear I have read it before. Either that or it just had a very generic plot. This one follows a young boy who is very much into cars, and then he convinces his dad to purchase this really amazing car for a very cheap price, and then he discovers that it's haunted. It was okay. It was just a generic Goosebumps book. I definitely read better Goosebumps books, definitely read better children's books, but yeah, it's just okay. The next one I downloaded from the library as well, and that was Dissolving Classroom by Junji Ito. First of all, I love everything that this author has put out that I have read so far, so it's no surprise that I loved this one too. This one is about two siblings who are pretty creepy because everywhere they go, people end up melting. Yeah, it's super weird, and it's definitely not something to read if you have just eaten or while you're eating. Like, I was reading it one night and Benson was literally just came into the room, looked at my screen, stared at me, and just went. So yeah, it's definitely freaky. The illustrations are super gross and gory. Like, Junji Ito knows how to write gore, especially like body horror and stuff. It's just so ugh. Like, if I ever really want to be scared, he's the one author that I know I can go to and like actually be scared by his work. So definitely 10 out of 10 would recommend. The next one I got from Kindle Unlimited, and basically every season they do these challenges where you can unlock certain challenges or certain awards every time you complete a challenge, and one of them was to read a book on one of their specified lists, and this book happened to be on that list, so I was like, why not? I need something short and sweet to get me out of the reading slump that I've been all freaking year. And that was It's Not Hansel and Gretel. So it's actually a series of books that takes fairy tales and makes them, or it doesn't really like twist them, but it basically tells the story in like a fourth wall breaking kind of way. And it's really funny because you got the characters arguing with the narrator, and the narrator's trying to tell the story, but the characters aren't really following along. They're pretty much just doing what they want to do and not what the narrator's telling them to, so you get a little arguments throughout the whole book. And I thought it was really cool. It's a children's book, obviously, so it was nice and refreshing for me to read. and I will definitely be picking up the others in this series. I've already gotten it recommended in my KU so much. And next is a reread of Act Your Age, Eve Brown. This follows Eve Brown, who is the youngest Brown sister, and she's basically cut off from her parents because they don't think she's responsible. So on her way to prove that she's responsible, she decides to start looking for a job, and at the end of her first interview, she ends up accidentally running over the guy who just interviewed her. And so after that, she kind of has to help him out at this bed and breakfast, and a romance ensues. As she also finds herself in this bed and breakfast and finds out what she actually likes to do, and it's just the most adorable thing. There is autism rep in here, and Jacob is just one of my favorite love interests by far in general, and Eve has always been my favorite of the three sisters, so getting to see her have her own book and actually get to speak, just to see in her thoughts and have her be unapologetically herself, I just love it so much. This is by far my favorite in the trilogy. This is by far my favorite book of the year so far, I think, and I've read quite a few books this year, so I'm just absolutely in love with this, and I do still need to read it one more time before I'm able to read or reread the other two, because I've read the other two 3 times each, and I've only read this one twice. And closing out July, I read In Deeper Waters. This follows Tal, who is a prince, and he's going on his coming of age tour when he sees this boy who is basically in shackles when he meets him, and he accidentally helps him escape into the ocean, and he's presumed dead until Tal is on land and sees him very much alive in the village. And it kind of ensues from there. There's a lot of, this story is really beautiful and fun, and I love the adventure we get to go on, but I do think it tried to do a lot in very little pages. It was a very generic plot, a very generic plot twist at least, and this easily could have been 2 books. There was another plot that it was trying to diverge into that easily either this book could have been another 100 or 2 pages, or there could have been a second book entirely and we could have gone on a completely separate second adventure, and I would have loved that, because the way this ended was just very, very rushed, and I definitely would I liked where the plot was going. I would have liked to see that storyline a lot more if we were able to. So that's the only reason I'm I don't know what I think I ended up rating this a 4-star, but it's probably more like a 3-star just because of all the problems that I kind of had with it. But I really love it. I still really liked it. First of all, I really love the cover. That's what I really love. But I did really like the story as a whole. And in August, I started off very strong with The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Ashley Poston is one of my favorite authors of all time. This follows Florence Day, who is a ghostwriter for a very popular author, and her new editor is he's very stern, and he wants her to hurry up and write the book that she's been working on for over a year. But then her father dies, and while she is at her father's funeral, she sees the ghost of her boss, and she has to try to figure out how she can help him. And I just thought this was super cute. Now, this was definitely not all about the romance. It was a very slow burn romance throughout it. This was more about Florence and accepting herself and accepting her family and learning how to write again. And I just loved so much about this. I loved the small town setting. I loved the the conversations between the characters. I loved seeing her interactions with her family. Definitely a 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm so glad that this author decided to start writing more adult romances, because it was just, I loved it so much. However, we continued on a little bit of a sour note because I read the second volume of The Witcher and I didn't like it as much as the first one at all, and it was just a really big disappointment because the way the first one, like, there was a big plot twist in the first one. This one, where I don't know who we're fighting. Don't ask me what it's called. We're fighting a thingy. But basically he's traveling with a group of sailors and they're not good dudes, so he's kind of putting his morals on the line, and it just, yeah, I mean, it was okay. I just didn't particularly care about the story as much as I did in the first one. There wasn't too good of a plot twist in the first, or in the second one. It's just, it was okay. I just had like really high expectations after the first one, so I didn't particularly care about it afterwards. The next one, I did not make Benson read with me because he has already read this one, but this one is Junie B. Jones and the Mushy Gushy Valentine, and like I said, we read this one pretty recently. I think this was one of the first ones he read with me. So I didn't like it as much as I think I would have if I hadn't read it very recently, but this is Junie B. Jones, follows Junie B. Jones, who is celebrating Valentine's Day, and she gets this giant Mushy Gushy Valentine, and she's trying to figure out who it's from, and it's super, I mean, it is really cute, just probably not my favorite out of the Junie B. Jones books. The next one was an ebook that I got from Kindle Unlimited, which is The Sprite and the Gardener, which follows the sprite who, well, sprites used to help garden around this town, and they don't anymore because humans kind of took over. So one of the sprites finds this gardener who's not very good at gardening. She's trying to help her mother out in doing so, and the gardener, or the sprite, ends up helping her. So it's about the sprites getting back into their love of gardening and helping out humans, and it's just super cute, and the art style is super cute. I loved it. I thought it was a really nice, wholesome palette cleanser, especially. I'm gonna try and hurry up these next couple just because I am running out of storage on my phone very, very quickly. But the next one is Displacement. This is a story about kind of time travel. We follow our main character who out of nowhere is transported into a different time and a different place, and she's learning about her heritage while being in this other place, and it's very heartbreaking and also a very beautiful story. And the only reason I picked this up was for the magical readathon, and I'm really glad that I did. I'm really glad that I found this one because I don't think I would have picked it up otherwise. You definitely should check that out if you're looking for something involving time travel as well as a little bit of historical fiction. And then I picked up Fart Quest number 3. If you have been around for a while, then you know this is one of my favorite middle grade series, following a group of adventurers who lose their masters, and they end up going on an adventure of their own instead of returning to the academy that they're kind of supposed to return to. In this one, they go yet again on another quest for Kevin, the great and powerful Kevin, and they have to find something in dragon poo. And it's no surprise that I absolutely adored this book. Probably not as much as the other two because this plot, again, was kind of predictable. I am really excited to see where the 4th book goes because I have a feeling we're going to learn something very, very important that honestly our characters probably should have caught on to by now, but I'm very excited to see the grand finale, because I'm pretty sure book number 4 is the last book. And then I finally read a very popular book on YouTube, but The Tea Dragon Society. It was on Kindle Unlimited. For some reason I can't find the physical copy pretty much anywhere that I look, but I read it on Kindle Unlimited and it was just as cute as everybody says. 5 out of 5 stars. Adorable art style. This follows a young girl who comes across this tea dragon society, which is kind of an extinct society, but she comes across the tea dragons and is able to, with the help of some others, learn more about them. And it's super adorable. I really want to get a physical edition. I need to find it somewhere, or maybe I can just order it online when I have the shelf space. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super cute and I cannot wait to read more. I think there's 2 more books in the series, at least so far. I loved it. And then the last 2, I read the second book in Delicious in Dungeons, which, if you don't know, is about this group of travelers who lose one of their companions and decide to go back into the dungeons to try to save her. And in doing so, they end up eating the monsters in the dungeons because they don't have the supplies needed to do so, or to go into the dungeons otherwise. This one was actually just as good as the first. I wouldn't say it was better or worse. I thought it was still very fun, very weird. Do not, even though it's about eating monsters, still don't go into this on an empty stomach because you will get hungry. It's definitely all about cooking food and finding a good, and we're getting to learn more about our characters, and I love them. I really do. I really enjoy this series and I cannot wait to read more. Lastly, I literally just finished this book last night, and that is Sisters of the Snake. This I read for the Magical Readathon for a book in the desert, and it was the last book that I needed to complete my career. And I enjoyed this one. So, as said before, me and YA are very meh lately. We're in a little bit of a rocky relationship right now. I still really enjoyed this one. I didn't feel myself necessarily compelled to pick it up, but when I did pick it up, it kept a hold of me pretty much the whole time. So I thought that was really great. This should probably tell you what this is about. This is about 2 sisters who don't know they're sisters. One is a thief, one is a princess, and they discover each other at one point and decide to switch places. This is, if you don't know, it's a Prince and the Pauper retelling. So yeah, my problem with not only YA but with like dual perspectives is I always seem to care about one perspective more than the other, and that definitely happened in this. But like halfway through the book, it swapped on which one I actually preferred to read, so that was really interesting for me. Overall, it was a really good book, and there is a second one coming out in literally a week, and I will definitely be picking that up. But I also felt like this is a 500-page book, and definitely needed to be 500 pages just because there was so much going on that sometimes it was really hard to keep straight what was happening throughout it. Thankfully, I had the audiobook for this one because oddly enough, I found it easier to concentrate with the audiobook than I would have if I was reading it physically. Other than that, I think this is a really solid read. I'm not sure what I'm gonna rate it. I think I have it on Goodreads as 4, and that feels really solid. I feel like 4 is good because even though I had my problems with it, I still really enjoyed it. And those are all of the books that I read in July and August. I am filming this on, I think it's the 27th? Yeah, I'm filming this on the 27th, so there is a possibility that I can read 1 or 2 more books. However, I am starting a new project in all of September, so I think I might end up just starting that project tomorrow. There are going to be weekly vlogs involved, a little bit of a, well, not really even really a spoiler, but there are going to be weekly vlogs involved, so I think I might just start tomorrow Sunday. I think I just might start tomorrow and have the vlogs go from Sunday to Sunday. And yeah, I think I'm super excited about it and cannot wait for you to see what I have planned. Because I don't know, it kind of seems like on one hand it kind of seems really silly, on the other hand I'm like really excited about it. So yeah. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more from me, as well as Benson, who's a frequent member on this channel. I will leave all of his links down in the description box below, as well as links to my social media if you want to get any more updates from me. But thank you again so much for watching, and have a great day.